I jumped into it, took my first class when King K came down in 2019.
Right, he did come through.
Yeah.
Was that at O2?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lit class.
Crazy.
That basically got me to say like if I want to explore a new foundation again, I think this is like the new space for me to explore again. Spent all of COVID trying to wrap my head around what light feet was, what the culture is, learning how to not be shit at light feet, and then I definitely feel like I'm less shit now, and I have a better understanding of what it is to definitely enough for me to share a bit more about it in Melbourne and get more people to join in the dance with me.
Yeah, sick, man. Oh, sorry, I just realized I had the wrong angle for a portion of what you were saying. Bro, tell me, that's dance.
Yeah.
That was like a very quick condensation, man. And thank you for sharing that. I guess one thing that just stood out, the most recent thing you just said, was not being shit. Yeah. And I like that.
Yeah.
You know, that's like some old school tough love kind of vibes, you know?
I always tell people when you want to get into dance, the first thing you got to acknowledge is that you're going to be shit at it. And then one day you're just going to be taking a class and you realize, hey, I'm a bit better. I'm less shit. And I kind of like what I'm doing right now. This is a step towards what I want to become. But I think personally, I'm the biggest, one of the biggest perfectionists ever. So I'm never going to be satisfied with where I am. But
it's like that.
I think looking back at where I was even like a month ago, or even I have old footage from like a couple years ago. I'm really grateful. I'm learning to be a lot more grateful with the progress that I'm taking in each step.
Yeah. I guess, you're kind of also in between generations in the sense that as you were coming up, this technology was coming in, access to information, styles, trends, etc. Right? That, you would have seen that transition where that innocence and fun of just like trying something started to get really serious. Yeah. It started getting to a point where it was like you're immediately comparing yourself to somebody, standards are higher, supposedly, when the point where I've arrived at is like it actually just goes full circle and you just got to go back to basics, right? You got to do the work, you got to do the drills, you got to feel uncomfortable, you got to jump in the sci-fi in the battle or whatever scenario, right?
I totally felt that way when I was first exploring light feet. I think the first instance of me attempting light feet in a battle was maybe October 2019. And I look back at it now and I'm like, I was so uncomfortable with light feet. You'd see 70 to 80% of my dance at that time was still breaking.
Right.
And trying to explore that space as I guess went to more battles, did online classes over COVID. I could slowly see myself be a bit more comfortable with light feet.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's still it basically felt like I was learning to walk again.
Yeah, it would be like that, man. I actually have been, so last night I taught a workshop to a Lindy Hop group. It was really bizarre in a good way because they'd requested groove. Yeah. Right? So I was like,
can you tell me what Lindy Hop is?
So to be honest, I couldn't tell you specifically. It's a dance. It's part of the jazz family. It has relations with tap, but it's a partner dance. It's part of swing dancing can be part of it, or it's a part of swing dance. It's like a boom. But that's just one of the styles. So similar to, let's say, rock and roll, hip hop, there's multiple genres, subgenres within the genre. It turns out Lindy Hop and those styles of dance are quite similar. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that I thought, and I also thought about this when I saw, shout outs to Filmy Fam and Nak and everybody else that will come up. I thought to myself, if I started something like Light Feet or Crump, or in this case, Lindy Hop, would it reinvigorate my inspiration to like be shit again and go through that whole process? Because I kind of feel like I'm just running the motions, you know? It's a weird one. It's a weird one.
I could see that. I mean, even to bring it back to that, like one of my close good friends, Sani, she recently got into light feed, and she only did it because she felt like she was getting like uninspired from hip hop, and now she considers herself like a hip hop light feed dancer, which I'm like, hell yeah, like. Like I wanted to train with you because you wanted to just learn the basics of light feed in the meantime, but now like you've got into enough to feel like you're like fully like investing yourself into the like culture as well. I mean, and another example is like her and I and Amelia went to a a crump session, like 0 sessions, which is basically like just the session to teach you like the bare foundations of crump.
Yeah, is that run by Burn City Crump?
Yeah.
Shout outs to Burn City Crump.
Shout outs to Burn City Crump, yeah. It was, I think, run particularly by like Alina, Troy, and why am I mentioning names? Because I'm forgetting one of them now.
That's all right, it might come up.
Alina, Troy, and Shiona. Yeah.
Shout outs to them.
They were just teaching us like basically like core foundation moves in crump, and like encouraging us to try to explore the movement within like firstly like just general like hip hop music, I believe, R&B hip hop, and then they moved it more to like crump music like space in the very first session. And I was like, this is like, yeah. I felt like I was like learning light feet or learning breaking all over again.
Man, it is, you know, I try not to make these podcasts about me, and I'm trying to get this bloody angle correct, man. Sorry. But as an older cat, it's kind of hard to start again because we know what's involved. I'm sure for you at 27, for doing this for as many years as you have, or 13 years, it's like you've passed your apprenticeship. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, I got to start again. It's crazy. It's good to hear that, you know, you're having these sessions. But I was going to ask you then, so like breaking, unfortunately, as much as the B-boys and B-girls say that it's hip hop, you know, sometimes it doesn't translate as being a hip hop form.
I can see that.
Right? Because the music, especially the commercial music right now, doesn't have that bounce, so to speak. And then you probably see it less often, at least at the surface level, that they're dancing to hip hop beats, like, you know, rap tracks, I mean to say, that we can share with the so-called hip hoppers. How is it then for light feet?
That's a great question.
Yeah, and it's, you know, what's the knowledge of light feet and its relationship to hip hop?
I think I personally still am not 100% sure of that question myself.
Yeah.
So it's definitely in a gray area where you'll have a solid number of people say light feet is hip hop, light feet is third generation hip hop. Like I mean, first generation being breaking, second being like party moves hip hop, third being getting light. Other people will say light feet is not hip hop. Right. And I think it just depends on like your perspective and how, like, I guess how you want to move to hip hop music.
Right.
Because I can definitely see in the same vein of like with breaking, you feel like you can't necessarily groove to like every hip hop track, and like especially like a lot of hip hop tracks nowadays. I feel kind of the same way with light feet. Like I think you have to like really relate to the music, especially hip hop music nowadays, if you want to really like light feet to it.
You said it.
Yeah. Because much like with breaking, with I guess the like with the kind of like funk, salsa like influences, the boom bap influences, like light feet has like a particular like beat to it as well.
Yes, it does.
Like especially like light feet music, not every hip hop track has that. So it's not like, especially with the ones that you don't sound like light fade tracks, like it's a lot harder to dance to those hip hop tracks than ones that will do.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So excuse the ignorance, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just working off because the last time I would have seen it in real life, it might not have been the right music, probably wasn't. Was last time I saw you at a Jam on Toe session at possibly IMAX. Might have been the night of the battle, that call out battle that happened. And this might have been before the battle or after. Like you just threw down, yeah? And it's funny, I didn't expect this relation to come up. I was doing Lindy Hop. I was doing a workshop for Lindy Hoppers yesterday, right? And it's like a one and for jazz. When I watch Light Feet, especially this thing, I've heard it before, but you're gonna have to re-explain it.
Yeah.
Right? You've got this bit at the end of certain times, like it's like right? And then when I think of the earliest tracks where I was conscious, like I found that on SoundCloud. I was like, oh, this is a dope remix of Love Come Down by
shout out to Kids the Wiz, SNS.
Kids the Wiz, whatever.
Get the Wiz on the track.
On the track, yeah. And it's like, it's got to go arch. It's got that up feel, that upbeat. Is that the rhythm, one of the basic rhythms of...
Yeah, I'd say that track that you mentioned, probably like one of the most iconic Light Feed tracks. Like last year, they ran the New York scene ran the like very first ever Light Feed Awards. I'm pretty sure Love Come Down ran one track of the year, even though it was produced maybe 10 years ago. So it's just that iconic.
Yo, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, I would have heard that song like in the teens still, in the 2010s. Yeah. And it won Song of the Year this year?
Last year. But I guess what I want to say is, you're reminding me of that. I think one of the challenges coming into Light Feet was, yes, there is like a particular emphasis, and that's on the 8. So if you think of
on
like
the 8.
an 8 count bar,
yeah.
Most of the emphasis of you're going to build up your round, much like in breaking. Let's say like you'll just have like you might start off your round with like some foundations. In Light Feet, it's like either rev up or a tone wop, or a bad one, and then you go into maybe like some conceptual stuff, building up from your rev up and tone wop ideas, whatever variations that you want to do. I think of like, if you were to like equate that to breaking, that's like your rev up tone wops could be like your top rocks.
Right.
And then when you go into, I don't know, showing off like some really cool footwork stuff, or like getting into some like power and like playing with that, that's showing your concepts and whatever. And then in breaking, you'll probably finish off with a freeze. In Light Feet, you'll finish off with a lock-in. A freeze will end up on a 1. A lock-in will end up on the 8. So when I started Light Feet, it fucked me up because I was so used to finishing my rounds on the 1 from my like. I had like so much like breaking bones that like I like struggled so hard to like learn how to finish on the 8 for the longest time.
It's definitely, this is why these are called disciplines, right?
Yeah, and I had to like rewire my brain completely. Like even nowadays, you might just 1 in every 100 lock-in, you'll catch me hitting it on the 1, and I'll be like, oh, fuck. Yeah.
And how does that translate then? Like if you, in and amongst other Light Feet dances, because I'm about to bring a certain scenario that came up recently for you.
Okay.
Yeah. But what happens if you're in, what do you guys call it, sessions? Do you call it?
We call it sessions, yeah.
Yeah. So what happens if you're in a session and you don't hit the 8 and you hit the 1? Like, you know, like...
I think in Melbourne, because, I mean, we're a fresh scene. I think especially, I mean, Australia in general, we're a fresh scene. We're very supportive of each other. I'm going to be hard for you still. If you're building up your lock-ins appropriately, like, I think the most important part is when I'm sharing people what Light Feet is and I want to get them to understand it. I think the most important part is, 1, like showing that you have some sort of understanding of the foundations, whether you're starting with that rev up or that tone wop, the bad one, and then you're using your own character, your own experiences, your own personality to show off like how you can represent the music or represent yourself in that body, build up towards some sort of climax, and then hit that lock-in.
I love it.
I think that's the most important part. Learning how to hit the lock-in at the 8, I think that just comes with time.
Yo.